what we've done over previous weeks is we've talked about the 7A's to Aliveness. And this is almost like, I'm going to do it in the Wizard of Oz theme a little bit, talk about that and relate to that, but we're also going to talk about it. Now this week's going to be different because everybody knows the Wizard of Oz if they haven't watched it, and if you don't know it, that's fair enough, you can play catch up. And I want some conversation around that, what it means to you. I can ask a question about, in fact I'm going to ask that now. Put it in the chat. Even if you haven't watched the film, think about the film and just put in one thing that you take away from that film. Just put it in the chat, and I'll save that for later and relate it to as close as you can to your thinking or your feeling. And you can be as specific, and you can have more than one. Let's be generous. So what did you take away from it, and if you took any learnings from it as well. Okay, so as I said, it seems ages ago now when we started this, and it's still relevant. It's still to me. I mean, I have a story around this, and some other people have had stories around it. And we start at the top with awareness, and I just want to relate to that, to the Wizard of Oz. So I'm going to read it a little bit because it's not coming from my own story. But the awareness, I actually started, and this, we can relate to this. The awareness was in my head triggered by trauma. You know, I've had enough of being stuck like this. There must be another way. And I related that to Toto being taken away from Dorothy. She was taken away, and that sort of brought an awareness that things weren't quite right for her. So she went searching for some stuff. So loss can be anything: loss of job, loss of relationship, loss of someone. But for me, if we put it in with the film, there was a certain amount of loss there. And we'll talk about that in depth in a minute. Acceptance that you have been stuck, or that you have had some sort of trauma, and acceptance of the new way of showing up in the world, searching for another way. And I thought about that as the yellow brick road, choosing another path. And I have an equation that I talk about that gives acceptance, which is the quality of the result is your solution times acceptance. Acceptance being the biggest part. Doesn't need a big solution, doesn't need a big insight, doesn't need a big thought. But if you accept it, oh my God, if you accept it, you can pierce the sky, as they say. And the next day we come up with, to capture the sort of journey on that yellow brick road, in this instance, is alignment. And that's alignment of this new way of understanding your world, your feelings. For me, that's showing up and noticing how I feel, not what I think. And those feelings are feelings of self-love. And as far as the film's concerned, I talk about coming home, so a sense of home. And that's almost what Dorothy, and that's my indulgence, because my sister's called Dorothy, my mother's called Dorothy. We have rainbow parties. All means something to me. It's the first film I ever went to see with my sister. But sense of home. And so when you've aligned to that with your feelings, I love this one. This to me is a massive one. It's about being audacious. Having the audacity now to show up as your true self. To show up from a place of living life on your terms. How could you be so audacious, would be a question coming at you. To want what is actually rightfully yours in the first place. And from the film, in the film, that was like, there is no place like home. Once you realize that and you become aligned to that, and for me that is your innate well-being. Your innate well-being is yours to own. So is it really being audacious? Is it really having audacity? Or is it just knowing how to live life on your terms and knowing what you want in life and not thinking yourself away from that? And once you have that audacity in place, you can give it attention. So once you know this for yourself, you can focus on what is right for you. And that will allow the feelings to grow and gain momentum to create a better feeling in any circumstance. I had to relate this to the film a little bit, and for me it was like skipping along the yellow brick road, knowing you have all the resources inside you and picking the ones you need on the way up. And what you focus on grows. So having attention with the new and fresh stuff, ideas, or whatever it might be, is just so powerful. And then we come up with accumulate. I talk about accumulate. We're very good at accumulating all the bad thoughts and all the past thoughts and all the stuff that keeps us stuck. But now we've got a new awareness that we're aligned to, that we want to just have the audacity and give that attention to this new and fresh stuff. So I see accumulate. Let's just park it. Park that old stuff, the stale stuff, and accumulate the new stuff. And just showing up is 50% of that. And notice how you feel. I'll talk later on, I think, about, you know, the future. The future is 100% reliable, but 98% unpredictable. So we try and plan for 2% of it. Put a lot of effort in for that, don't we? So actual action to take that. Showing up is 50% of the actual action you have to take, but in a new and fresh way. That's the important thing. Relying on a good feeling and letting go of the old habits, patterns, and stale, insecure thinking that take you away from your inner peace. And I wrote down, because I found this was a tough one to get to the film, but I just wrote down, Dorothy dreamt or thought herself away from her inner peace because of the trauma that the circumstance, she made up some catastrophic thinking around it, when all she had to do was maybe communicating. And this leads us to authentic self. I tell people every week, I'm grounded now. I've found my true nature. It's playful, it's joyful, it has inner peace. Don't get me wrong, I get knocked off my perch. I got knocked off my perch this weekend. It was a time that, let's say, was a struggle, but it's just my thinking, and it's just temporary. And the beauty of thought is it's transient, it passes. And then you step back into that authentic feeling, that true nature. And when you find it, when you find home, you don't ever want to lose it. So what did I write down? Authentic, being true to who you are and how you want to be in the world, without any therefore. I must do this, I must do that. It gives you a grounded feeling of true nature, leading to home, like the film. And home for me is aliveness. I so love the thought of aliveness. And your aliveness will be different from my aliveness. But I know one thing, any thought that takes you away from that authentic will be the same as the thoughts I used to have and still get now and again. But the beauty of being authentic is you can always step back into it. You can always step into your true nature because it doesn't go anywhere. So aliveness, joy, inner peace, and a playful feeling of life. And that life has a limitless supply of good feelings if we don't think itself away. I wanted to say that song, if you think about it in the way of self-love, gives another meaning as well. If you think of your true colours as your innate well-being, as your true nature, then that's an amazing aliveness song. So for those who needed to hear that, thank you. I've put this in because all that is stopping that happening, for you to see your true colours, and for you to not listen to the shitty committee, and for you to see that you're made of love, and that you are your own diamond. And the power of just breaking them chains, breaking away from the things that are made up of thought. Conditioned thought, personal thought, habitual thought. They're thought, and they seem real. They appear real. But they're not. They're transient. They're the weather that hides the blue sky.